Tonight I want to talk about, and I've mentioned that I've been thinking about this to a few of you, discomfort as a Dharma gate, and there's one of those terms. I'll define that in a little bit here. Um, our theme for this 90-day intensive practice period, otherwise called Ango, um, this fall is karma and crisis. And Gyoto Sensei has given a couple really, two or three really good talks about this. There are a number of uh, entryways into this topic, and I've kind of settled on one that I want to talk about tonight. I want to focus on taking action in the face of crisis. And as many of you, I'm sure know, taking action is a primary focus of the Zen Peacemaker community. It's our third tenet, taking loving action from the position of not knowing, the first tenet, and bearing witness, the second tenet. Not knowing is that mind of Zazen, empty, not clinging, not pushing away, serene, and ready to receive as we say, the 10,000 things, no matter how they appear. And they're not always pleasant, those 10,000 things. And bearing witness begins in that not knowing. And in bearing witness, we look out at our world and everything that's going on out there, whether it's good or bad, beautiful or terrible, painful or pleasant. And we don't turn away. We don't look away. Still in that mind of not knowing. And then we act in a loving way from those positions or that position. And I want to stay away from, I want to steer clear of anything that sounds political, but it'll get a little bit that way. So forgive me that. And I don't mean to put out opinions about one thing or another, but it's kind of hard to not see this when we look out into our world today. Um, speak for myself. Many of us are fearful or worse, or perhaps terrified at what's going on. We see our government terrorizing citizens. We see other governments using starvation as a weapon. We see the rule of law upended in ways that I never dreamed of. I never dreamed I'd see. And we see so much of the social and environmental progress of the past few decades reversed. Voting rights being trampled, violent rhetoric, violent actions dominating the headlines. It's hard not to see that. And I think a lot of us are, I don't want to say paralyzed, that's too big of a word, but certainly daunted by these circumstances, not really knowing what to do. Stepping a little closer to the political, we've got at least half of Congress afraid to take action because of fear of retribution. But we're called to act. We are called to act. This is the image of the Bodhisattva Kuan Yin or Avalokiteshvara with 1,000 eyes to see and 1,000 hands to reach out and help. We're called to act. That's our Bodhisattva vow. And very, very often in our culture, and because of the magnitude and the gravity and sometimes the distance of some of these things that are going on, acting is speaking. Acting is speaking. or discussing. Speaking is very often what's most available to us. I'll try to keep these to I statements because I don't know how any of you feel. So I'll speak for myself, and if you relate, then good, and if not, it's okay. Um, Too often, I resort to speaking my frustration or my anger or my fear, and this can make things worse. And I know from sitting with this that I do that when I feel helpless or scared or impotent. Going back to the title of this, Discomfort is a Dharma gate. I do that when I'm uncomfortable. And I don't want to judge that discomfort. It's natural. Naturally, conflict is scary. Most often, I can tend to keep my own counsel and refrain from speaking at all. And sometimes that's the right thing to do. I do it because I have a sharp tongue and I've hurt people with it. So sometimes I hold back in order to not do more harm. But times like these, they compel us to speak. They compel us to act or to engage. And how do we do that and not add to the problem? You can open any of the social media apps and see people. It seems like it's toned down a little bit, but still, you can see people just emoting, just regurgitating their anger and frustration and helplessness, calling people names, exaggerating, lying. I know, I'm sure many of you have heard this before, and there's different versions of this, but there's a kind of a right, I call it a right speech test that I really like, and I actually use this, and I'm not always successful at catching myself. Is what I'm about to say true? And how do I know? Is it necessary that I say it? Is it going to make anything better if I say it? Is it kind? You can disagree with somebody kindly. It's possible. Does it unite or divide what I'm about to say? Does it unite or divide? And I confess to still having the habit of kind of blowing it off. And the answers to those questions oftentimes are no, but I skip right over it. Especially when I'm talking with someone and it's an important topic to me, and we have different opinions about it. And it's easy to experience um, that situation as a contest to be won. And I think that changing how we see that and not looking at it as a contest to be won, flipping it around such that my goal is to listen when the other person's speaking and to speak truthfully when I do. There's a whole tangent here I don't want to get off into, but it's interesting, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with in rhetoric logical fallacies. There are a whole list of logical fallacies that are used as weapons in debate and in discussion. You can turn on the TV and you can see it every night. Um, um, Ad hominem attack is one. Straw man is one. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're not fair. They're not truthful. They're just devices to win. So this whole uncomfortable area where I'm drawn to act, which may mean saying something, and saying might be writing it, might be letter to the editor or editorial. It might be a conversation with a friend or a family member or a stranger. It might be some reaction on Facebook. Um, I'm not an elected official, so it's not that. But this uncomfortable space, this scary feeling in my body when I get into that situation, this is how it's a Dharma gate. And I promised to define things that I use. A Dharma gate it's an entry point in our lives into the mystery of reality, mystery of the harmony of oneness and diversity. It's an entry point into the experience or the reality that oneness and diversity coexist harmoniously. Later on this evening, when we finish, we'll chant the Bodhisattva vows, and one of them is Dharma gates are omnipresent. So they're everywhere all the time, in every situation, or rather, they are every situation. And some of them, as we've been talking about, are much more evident than others. Some are very subtle. As I mentioned, speaking up in a city council meeting or in an op-ed in the newspaper or talking with friends or talking with your family, it can be nerve-wracking, especially when we don't all agree. And I I don't know about you, but I feel it. I feel it's somatic. I feel getting triggered and my body reacting, and I get warm and my heart beats faster, and I maybe don't necessarily have full control over what I'm thinking and saying. And I might say something just to win. I might say something just to be mean. Again, you can turn the TV on and see that all day, every day. So stepping into that fire, stepping through that Dharma gate and staying grounded, that's our taking action practice. It's a matter of opening up to or bearing witness to what's real. And even though it's perhaps terrifying, stepping forward anyway. And I face this with some degree of regularity. By nature, I'm a pleaser, and I never want to rock the boat, especially with those in authority, mommy and daddy. So I will refrain from speaking up sometimes when I otherwise know I should. And then I carry that around with me. I have a situation that occurred in 1984 with a family member that was quite extreme. I won't go into any details. And I should have said something, and I didn't. And it's still in my body 31 years later, whatever that is, 41, 16. Um, and indeed, there are times when it's best to let something go by. Um, some of you may have had this experience years ago, and let's say in the 70s. There were some um, cultural trends, and I had friends who had done certain kinds of training, and they were constantly telling everybody who would listen all the things that the other people did that upset them. That can become excessive. So that's not what we're talking about. Discomfort is a Dharma gate, and life is full of uncomfortable situations. We don't need to go searching for them. That can become a form of masochism, the difficult ones, that is. It's important to remember that joy and beauty and wonder are also Dharma gates. I came across this. I just thought to add this afternoon. I came across this metta prayer from Upaya Zen Center. I'd never seen it before, and I think it's really apt in this topic. This is written by a woman who's passed away, Kushin Seisho Meili Scott. She was a Zen teacher based for many years at the Berkeley Zen Center, and then started her own place in Arcata, California. And throughout her life, Meili was passionately committed to justice and devoted much of her time to work in prisons and with homeless and in homeless shelters throughout California. And she wrote this version of the metta prayer about 30 years ago. I think it describes what we're talking about here. Here's how she said it. This is what should be accomplished by the one who is wise. May I be well, loving, and peaceful. May all beings be well, loving, and peaceful. May I be at ease in my body, feeling the ground beneath my seat and feet, letting my back be long and straight, enjoying breath as it rises and falls and rises. May I know and be intimate with body-mind, whatever its feeling or mood, calm or agitated, tired or energetic, irritated or friendly. Breathing in and out, aware moment by moment of the risings and passings. May I be attentive and gentle towards my own discomfort and suffering. May I be attentive and grateful for my own joy and well-being. May I move towards others freely and with openness. May I receive others with sympathy and understanding. May I move towards the suffering of others with peaceful and attentive confidence. May I recall the Bodhisattva of compassion, her 1,000 hands, her instant readiness for action, each hand with an eye in it, the instinctive knowing what to do. May I continually cultivate the ground of peace for myself and others and persist, mindful and dedicated to this work, independent of results. That's rather extraordinary. May I know that my peace and the world's peace are not separate, that our peace in the world is a result of our work for justice. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. I'm reminded, some of us have read Nancy Baker's opening to Oneness. I'm reminded of Nancy Baker, Mujo Roshi, teaching us that giving fearlessness is the most profound generosity. Giving fearlessness. So I'm thinking of that situation where I'm discussing whatever it might be with a friend or a family member, then we don't see things the same. And I can still have my position. I can still say what I believe, or what I think. And I can still give fearlessness so that the other person doesn't feel attacked or diminished or demeaned or humiliated or anything like that. So I invite us all to step out into our world, such as it is today, and engage, speaking up for the vulnerable, for the poor, for the sick, for the weakest among us. Let's do so while creating unity and not division. Let's embrace our discomfort and then go forward into the crises that are our Dharma gates. Let's go forward and as fearless warriors. So I thank you for listening.